Before Pyro Traveler releases, I wanted to go through every other Traveler kit currently in game and utilize them to 36-star Abyss as a main DPS if possible. I've gone through 4 out of the 5 Traveler elements, and you can check out those videos in the description below after I go for the last element left, Dendro. Arguably, I've saved the best for last. Dendro Traveler is currently the most used Traveler variant, and it's not that surprising. In terms of Dendro application, Dendro Traveler is among the best possible options. Personally, I only think Nahida really outclasses them completely in this regard, and, well, she's the Archon. Checks out to me. Very quickly, let's go over Dendro MC's abilities. Their skill is a cone of Dendro damage, nothing too special here. The burst is the most unique aspect of the kit. It spawns a Dendro flower on field that deals periodic Dendro damage, and can get one of 3 potential enhancements when either Hydro, Electro, or Pyro is applied to it. Applying Hydro makes the AoE of the burst significantly larger, Electro makes the burst hit significantly more times, and Pyro makes the flower into a nuke, exploding and doing a one-time instance of Dendro damage. Once applied, these enhancements aren't overridable. Before we discuss what enhancement to use, I found out some misinformation regarding Dendro MC. The Genshin Impact fandom wiki states that the burst hits 13 times when enhanced by Electro, and 8 times when enhanced by Hydro. This number is counted at C0, but if you were to account for C2's effect, which is an extra 3-second duration, and add the extra hits to these existing numbers, they are inaccurate. You would get 16 times for Electro and 10 times for Hydro. It turns out that the number of hits you can hit during the Electro-enhanced burst is a maximum of 18 hits and a max of 12 hits for Hydro. To be fair, the amount of hits you get off is based on when you apply the element to the burst, and the range of hits for Electro enhancement vary from 16 to 18, while it's 10 to 12 for Hydro, depending on when you apply the element. But the wiki doesn't state this anywhere on the page, which is kind of misleading. Especially since the increased amount of hits from the Hydro enhanced state means you can get off another reaction proc for Hyperbloom teams, for example. And that's pretty valuable. Another thing to note is that while unenhanced, the burst hits for a total of 11 hits. But by enhancing the burst again early with Hydro, you can get an extra hit and an extra reaction proc with Dendro MC's burst. Moving on from here, most people utilize the Electro or Hydro version of the burst. In a Hyperbloom team, the Hydro enhancement is better since the larger AoE gives more application in a multi-target setting. And the amount of Dendro application the Electro versus Hydro enhancement applies is the same in the single target instance due to ICDs. But that's if you are relying on cores to do damage. What is the best enhancement for Dendro MC to deal damage with personally? As a no-brainer, I think it's obvious in a single target scenario, Dendro MC's Electro version is better than the Hydro one, given the amount of ticks and the fact that both will trigger spread the same amount. But what about in comparison to the Pyro version? Let's run some quick math. The Pyro enhancement has 851.7 motion value. Motion value is a term that refers to the percentage scaling an ability has. Don't ask me why it's called that. I'm pretty sure it's from Monster Hunter, but it's a pretty common used term in theory crafting to my knowledge. Going back to scalings quickly, assuming each of the 16 hits for the Electro Enhanced Burst hit a target at minimum, you'll get 2,725.44 motion value. And this isn't even including the extra procs of spread you'd get with the 16 hits, again at minimum because it could go up to 18, versus the 1 hit from the Pyro enhancement. It's kind of crazy to even think about. Now you might argue, you don't have to blow up the burst with Pyro immediately. You could wait until the burst has done all of its normal hits first, and then enhance it with Pyro. Even with the assumption that you could do that without accidentally blowing up the burst beforehand, and somehow get all 11 hits of the burst before blowing it up, you would be comparing the damage from, at minimum again, 5 instances of burst damage that you get extra from enhancing with Electro to the 1 Pyro strike. As it turns out, the damage provided from 1 Pyro enhancement burst is exactly the same as 5 instances of the Dendro burst damage. It's like they balanced it precisely for this to happen. What this means is that by far, the Electro enhanced burst will do more or equal damage than any varied timing version for the Pyro enhanced burst. It's also significantly easier to play, as you don't have to worry about accidentally triggering the enhancement early. Keep in mind that this calculation doesn't even include the extra damage from spreads, which makes it even more of a no-brainer to use the Electro Enhanced version. With that, let's quickly go over some Dendro MC Tech. As I mentioned earlier, you can get more hits off with the burst, and the key to doing this is enhancing it early. If you enhance the burst early, you can get a chance to hit the maximum amount of times from the burst, this being 18 for Electro and 12 for Hydro. There are a couple of characters that can quickly apply these enhancements without very specific timing, being Dory for Electro and Barbara for Hydro. Dory's ult creates a line to the player that deals electro damage to anything crossing said line, so it's extremely easy to get the early application necessary. Likewise, Barbara also has a similar thing with her skill, which applies Hydro in an area around her, allowing her to enable Dendro MC's ult early to get the maximum hit cap in a Hydro enhancement setting. As I stated earlier, the Hydro enhancement information is much more useful for Hyperbloom teams since it gives you another application instance, and it's something I'll potentially make use of in a future video, but I digress. Note that even with the early application, hitting the max cap on strikes isn't that consistent from my personal testing. However, I have been able to hit at least 17/11 hits for the Electro/Hydro enhancements respectively every test instance, so there's that. As you might have figured, I was going to focus around a Quicken team. It allows Dendro MC to do the most personal damage, and to allow for the maximum 18 hits, I was definitely going to use Dory on the team. She would be able to trigger the Electro enhancement the quickest with her burst overall, and give EM through the Sumeru craftable weapon, plus extra flat damage with 4-piece Song of Days Past. As for the other two members, I decided on Nahida and Fischl. Nahida also gives the on-field character EM from her burst, and Dendro Resonance in this case, which is even more EM. Plus, Nahida allows me to be more flexible with Traveler artifacts, since she would be equipped with 4-piece Deepwood to get necessary Dendro resistance shred. Fischl is a good secondary DPS to put into any Quicken comp, particularly with her A4 passive. Plus, the extra energy regen from Electro Resonance was also nice. I built her mainly for damage with 4-piece Golden Troop, and as for Traveler, I ideally wanted to do something like 2-piece Deepwood, 2-piece Noblesse. I calculated that I didn't really need that much ER if I was doing ideal cycles, since I was going to do on-field Dendro MC and Dory would provide a good amount of energy. I got a build to somewhat work, but I would have liked more crit rate and energy recharge, to be honest, because this team didn't run as well as I thought it would, given my Traveler's current energy recharge and crit rate. Now keep in mind, even though my EM is very, very low, with the amount of EM buffs this team overall has, it's fine that I don't have that much. But it still would have been nice to have more EM. With this, it's time to utilize a DPS Dendro MC. And here are the builds I used. While Dendro MC is the best Traveler kit overall, it's more for supportive capabilities rather than personal damage. I really hope Pyro MC shows us a Traveler with more damage potential. And really the main thing I hope for Pyro MC is that they have interesting tech. The funnest Traveler kits for me are Animo and Yugioh, since they both allow for more skill expression, and I would love it if Pyro MC could also have something similar. But for now, the Traveler videos will be on hold until Pyro MC releases. Thank you all for the support for these last few videos. I really appreciate it, and I hope that all of you enjoyed the Traveler shenanigans. With that, see you next time.